Welcome to People First Builders, celebrating leaders in construction who build success through their people. My name is Fletcher Wimbush, your host. I'm the CEO of Discover.ai, a performance hiring software helping small and mid-sized AEC companies solve their hardest problem, people. We help people first leaders install and execute repeatable talent acquisition systems that drive business results by hiring top performers, lowering turnover, and building world-class company cultures. Stick around to the end and you can learn more about how to become a guest on our podcast and share your story with the world. Welcome to the People First Builders podcast. My name is Fletcher Wimbush and I'm your host. Today, I'm really excited to have Carrie Stokes with us. She's with Barge Design Solutions. She's the Chief Executive Officer and President and a professional engineer of Barge Design Solutions, where she brings nearly 3 decades of leadership experience in the architecture and engineering industry. Her career reflects a remarkable journey from student intern to CEO, culminating in her 2025 appointment as the first woman to lead a 70-year-old firm. I can't wait to hear this story here, Carrie. Throughout her tenure at Barge, Carrie has served several key leadership roles, including serving as the company's inaugural chief of staff and leading its largest division. She has been a member of the board of directors since 2015 and played a central role in shaping the firm's 5-year strategic growth plan. As CEO, Carrie is focused on strengthening enterprise systems, expanding leadership development, fostering innovation, and enhancing Barge's employee-owned culture. Another great topic to talk about here. She is deeply committed to building a people-first organization that empowers employees, strengthens client relationships, and drives long-term impact in the communities they serve. Carrie is also an active leader in the broader industry and community. She serves on multiple corporate and industry boards, including Advancing Women in Nashville, AWIN, and is a Leadership Nashville alumni.
Yep.
Her contributions have earned her several honors, including the Jack L. Wood Excellent Service Award, and the Dan Barge Jr. Award of Merit, and recognition as a woman of influence by the Nashville Business Journal in 2023. You have a bachelor's and master's in civil and environmental engineering from Vanderbilt, and as a registered professional engineer in Tennessee. I mean, Carrie, your credentials are just, through the roof, and in an industry that has, grossly underrepresented by women, you were like outpacing most of the men by like a mile.
Oh.
That at least the ones I talked to. No, I think that's a pretty true statement across the board. So wait a second. Did I hear this correctly? Did you start with Barge as an intern?
I did. You heard that correctly. Yes. So I'm from Louisville. I came to Nashville to go to Vanderbilt, was a junior, and there was a gentleman from Barge who was our ASCE student rep, and he kind of put it out there that they had student interns, and I got connected with them, had a great experience, and I didn't know it at the time that I would stay here my whole career, but that's what's happened, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Okay. So I love this as a recruiting strategy, right?
Yeah.
So what sucked you in? Think back to that time, right? You're
Right.
like, I don't know. I didn't think I was going to be there. I just, I got my first job, right?
Right.
Maybe
I mean, yeah, I was, and as a college student, I was looking to stay in Nashville because I thought it was a cool place to be, right? But so Barge had a wonderful reputation. So that's what kind of hooked me. It's like, it's a great place to go to work, get a lot of great experience, have been involved. Barge has a long-term client with Opryland and several other just industries and organizations that have a big presence in the community. So I knew of Barge, great reputation. It probably just didn't dawn on me that I would stay in one place my whole career. But then I got here, and what I loved was that I was just exposed to a lot of different opportunities. So I got to try things. Some I really enjoyed and some I didn't. And honestly, kind of getting the opportunity to figure out what I didn't like
Yeah.
was as helpful to me as trying to kind of figure out my path as anything else. And
Well,
then,
and you weren't punished for that though. I guess,
no, no,
sometimes people go down a path right in a
right.
company and then that sort of turns into a dead end for them and they gotta exit because of that,
Yeah.
right?
And that's what we continue to promote, right? Like we want to invest in people. So we want them to stay. We want to promote from within. And so I think our HR team does a great job. They kind of describe, I mean, we have job families at Barge, but they
Yeah.
describe it like, think about if you're approaching it like you're climbing a rock wall, right? Like sometimes you might go to the side
Yeah.
before you go up or down. And that's just kind of putting out there like, it's okay. Like if you want to move over here, and try, maybe it's not technical, maybe it's project manager, that's going to provide you, valuable experience in our business. And it's something that you wanted to pursue. So we're really mindful and try and be deliberate about having the conversation so people feel like they can try. And if you try it and it's not
Not
your
for
thing,
you, then we're gonna
right?
find a path back
We're going to
to the
find if you are, yeah, a great asset to the firm, you're aligned with our values, we want to keep you here.
yeah, yeah. I think that's such a valuable thing, right? Allows people to constantly be challenged and explore. You do hear about this old mantra. Sometimes people get promoted to their level of incompetence, or maybe it's just to a level that is just not a good fit for them, especially in engineering. Some of those folks being in a senior leadership role may not, suit their personality or the thing that they really want. And I hear this from young engineers.
Yeah.
Actually, I was out on the playground with my kids the other day, and young engineers, like, they're like pushing us to go into leadership. And it's like, I just like the work. Like, I don't really want to I see how hard the
Right.
principals are working and the managers are working. And like, that's not really what I want out of my life now, maybe later, but like, I just like doing the work. Can I be
Right.
successful there? Right.
Yes, and that's the conversation we wanna have because we are in the business of engineering, right? We need people who wanna dig in and solve complex problems, and so there has been a tendency in this industry or a perception maybe where it's like, "Hey, I've got to move over into the management or have to move over in the sale. That's how I'm gonna get promoted and,
Mhm.
get the next step." And so we've been very purposeful to say, "Hey, we are built around our technical expertise and knowledge." Now we have to know how to run the business,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we've got to have strong engineers, architects, surveyors, so we value that. And so we've been really mindful to try and make sure we're showing the different tracks and our technical teams are very valuable, right? We're not
Yeah.
trying to push everybody over.
There's opportunity for them to grow in that
Yes.
tract
Yes.
if
Very much
where
so.
they had to be, those tend to be more on the individual contribution side, right? But they can grow both
Yeah, they
financially
can
and
lead,
professionally.
right, lead teams, they can be part of proposal event, there's all different ways in which they can engage.
Yeah,
I mean, we ask everybody to understand the business, right? So we want everybody to have insight into how we serve our clients, how we make money, but
sure.
that doesn't need to be everybody's day-to-day job, right? We need
Yeah.
to get everybody in the right seat on the bus, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So what's your specialty at Barge, just for everybody to understand? What kind of projects you guys working on geographically? Who's kind of your ideal customer, or customers you're working with typically?
Yeah, so as you share, we're employee owned. We've been around for 71 years now, and we are headquartered in Nashville, and our office footprint is in the Southeast primarily, but we work across the US. And so we have architects, engineering, planning, environmental. So, really, pretty much full service. We don't do geotechnical. We have great partners in that.
Yeah.
And we serve all client types. So, public, private, federal, really heavily in on infrastructure markets, water, wastewater, data, and then private development as well, hospitals, commercial development.
Yeah. So larger projects are and of more complexity where the infrastructure is, really has to be strong and needs complex engineering. Then I guess would
Yes.
maybe another
Yes.
way to characterize that. Okay, cool. So how have you guys gone about, or how have things changed? I mean, how long you been there now? 20 plus years?
Third, we'll just say 25 plus, right?
Okay.
Like,
All right. Sure. No, and from your, I mean, I imagine a lot has changed over that time
Very much.
as a firm, and
Yes.
you've gotten to see different cycles. I mean, I think the '09 cycle or whenever that '07, '08, '09 cycle was an interesting cycle for everybody in
Was.
the AEC space. Um, but how have you seen, sort of I'll call it the war for talent, how has it evolved from your perspective? And, how have you guys as a firm adjusted over, say, the last 10 years or, say since the or
Mhm.
2010, nine range to this current cycles that we're dealing with, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we talked about the clients we serve, and so we are now at about 700 employees, and so we're pretty diverse though in our services and markets.
Yeah.
And I think that is a strength of Barge because we're able to weather. Eh, most of the time all markets aren't hot or up at one time, right? And
Yeah.
so having that balance, and so that does provide some stability and consistency for our employees as well, right?
Yeah.
So we're really thoughtful about making sure if they have a strong interest in healthcare, we're going to match that, but we also want to get them introduced with other projects. One, just for their exposure and opportunity, and make sure we can always kind of keep
Yeah.
people busy and plugged in. But it has been interesting over the last several years, just as a firm, how do you distinguish yourself in the market, right? And so that's one of the conversations we've been having because we don't want to be the best kept secret. Like
Yeah.
that's not, you know.
Well,
And
you're
so
saying, especially from a talent perspective,
that's
how
what I
do you,
mean from a talent perspective,
yeah,
right? And so we have been just a lot more deliberate about putting out, kind of recognizing our technical talent, putting them out there as the thought leaders because that's what they are. And
yeah,
so just increasing awareness in that way, certainly engaging at different career fairs. And that's what, I mean, we hire talent kind of across the tenure spectrum, but we're really invested in kind of the younger talent,
yeah,
right? Because we want to invest in them. We want them to have their career here at Barge, try different things, and as I kind of shared, we want to promote from within.
yeah,
So we've also really thoughtful about who we bring on board too. So in addition to just looking at the job description, I think we're starting to do a better job of saying, okay, but what are the behaviors? Like, kind of what's the candidate profile more than just
yeah.
the technical, abilities? What are the skill sets that these
Soft
right the
skills,
soft
culture
skills,
match type
right?
related
And
things. And
either we provide that coaching and support, or they come to us with it, just so we can have that alignment from the get go. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think just increasing the visibility is pretty.
Have you seen a shift in going after, what I mean? A firm your size, as you mentioned, probably you're looking at talent at all spectrums,
We
all
are.
career levels, right?
We are.
Obviously. It, and I think it's pretty common. How has it shifted? At least looking at the junior talent and the development cycle, has that changed over the years from your perspective? I'm really curious on this because I feel like that's kind of a standard playbook, but smaller firms sometimes can't do that. Can't pull it off. They don't have the infrastructure. But even a larger firm like yourself, I mean, it, did you guys used to say, we always want to find experienced mid-career, senior career type talent, or was there a turning point where you're like, no, we're really going to focus on the junior talent and develop them?
it- um, Junior talent's always been part of kind of what we've sought, but I would say, you talk to enough people, trying to find that 12-year experienced engineer
Mhm.
project manager, that's like the unicorn, right? And
Yeah,
so we probably, like a lot of others, step back and had the conversation, okay, well, if it's that hard, we have great people, maybe they're just not quite ready. And so we have spent a lot more time on development programs. So we just started recently a emerging leader program. I mean, we had a leadership institute for senior and mid-level. We started that. So we've kind of shifted a little bit, even like on the project management front. A lot of engineers might not know exactly what that means. So we're
yeah,
having educational session like this is what this role is, and this is the skill sets. And so even just kind of introducing more what the different career tracks can be and then developing for that. So that has been, I'd say, a lot more focused. The other thing that we highlight is our employee ownership, which I mentioned.
yeah.
But I bring it up again because it is a little bit different in that it is widely distributed. So
Okay.
about 80% of Barge employees own stock. So it's not It's not tightly held. You don't have to be invited in. That's open to everybody. And that really drives how we run the company, how we make decisions. And I think that is really attractive to a lot of young people, but also that is where we see some of the kind of mid and senior level people having different experiences and looking to see and find themselves at a place where they can be an owner.
Yeah. When did you guys make the switch or go, to an ESOP, or, when did that
We
happen?
Yeah, we are a C Corp and we have been for many decades. So we thank our founders. They held it, there were four of them. But then in that transition, they set us up as to be employee owned.
Yeah.
So we're always very grateful that that
Yeah.
they did that and they made that decision and they shared it with everyone.
They set you up for success there.
They did.
So what's the difference? So when you say, 80%, is sort of spread out, I mean, how does that compare to some of the other programs that you've seen out there that, it's not all that uncommon for a professional services firm to go employee owned, right? But
Mhm.
how, compared to others that you've seen, how do you think yours stacks up in distributions, I guess, and in issue?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we see or we hear from, other competitors is they do have employee ownership, but you have to be invited in. You have to have, you have to be at a certain level. You have to invest so much, and we don't have a kind of minimum requirement, right? If you choose to buy 5 shares or whatever, but that gives you a sense of ownership, we appreciate that. So I really think it's about just the openness, people participating as they can. And so that's kind of the other thing that goes
Yeah.
hand in hand when you're looking to attract kind of junior talent. They're at a different stage of life
Yeah.
than other people, and they might not have a lot of discretionary income. But kind of having that conversation, hey, if but they can still be owner, right? Even if it's,
And there's distributions annually then, or are these,
through our stock return.
yeah.
Through our stock return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's also interesting to talk about. I don't know, whether young people or many people really understand what's that worth to them, right? I mean, it's one thing, okay, yeah, I'm an owner of my company, but like, what does that mean for me ultimately, right?
Right. And we
Mm.
have been, I feel like we keep talking about all these conversations we've been having, but that's one of the thing about being employee owned. We are very transparent in how how we run the business, how we make decisions. But actually stock ownership was one of the things that I think we almost took for granted a little bit because we
Yeah.
talk about it in a sense of our culture because it does impact again how we treat each
Yeah.
other. But we kind of recognize to your point there were a lot of people maybe choosing to make, not participate or do this because they didn't understand, right? They didn't
Yeah.
understand that as a business model, how the return work. We value our stock once a year. And so we actually partnered with our HR and our accounting team and marketing team this year and rolled out a stock campaign. And it kind of started from the basics of this is our ownership model. This is what it means to the firm. This is what it means to you. And we got a lot of great feedback of people just saying, "Hey, thank you. I've been
Yeah.
here for several years and I didn't totally understand. I knew it was a great investment, but I didn't quite know the parts and pieces of why." So I think it kind of helped level set everyone, and we're going to continue that communication. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I think in a good program, I mean, financially to the individual, it can be pretty lucrative, I
Yes.
think, compared to other. I mean, I'm assuming you still do like things like bonuses and you
Yes.
401ks and things
Yes.
like that, right? I
Very
mean,
much.
all of those
Yes.
things are still
All
there,
those things.
but that little extra piece can be pretty can
Yeah.
offer a pretty nice payday, for somebody who's wanting to buy their first home or
Yes.
retire or have life events or things like that where, that's you're not getting that at other organizations,
That's
right?
right. Right. And what I love about that too is when we decide on a growth plan or decide on actions, we get to align around it and people know what they're working for, right? So
Yeah.
just that does really impact the decisions we make, but how people work and perform and
Yeah.
kind of look ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you own it, you're going to be a lot more diligent in making sure that the customer's better taken care of, that the
Right.
project's done
Right.
on time, under budget, that
E-
we're
e-
protecting ourselves,
Exactly.
as
Exactly.
engineers, are not negligent in our design, in our engineering or
That's
design,
right.
right?
We
Yeah.
say think and act like an owner because you are, right? Like your name is
Yeah.
going out the door
Yeah, exactly. Quite
on
literally,
all
right?
of our deliverables. So
Yeah. Yeah. So any curious, any other recruitment strategies and how you've been able to attract folks? You said, you alluded, I don't want to be the best kept secret, is there some sentiment there? I mean, how have you gone to uh, if we're talking about maybe more mid-career folks, how have you guys gone about, attracting or engaging with that type of talent pool? Because that is the most challenging typically to attract or engage with. What have been some strategies that you guys have found that have been successful in capturing their attention and getting them involved in conversations?
Yeah, it's a lot about relationships, I would say. So, we have a lot of individuals. I mean, we've talked about putting ourselves out there as thought leaders that they are, and that's not just on LinkedIn, but it's at conferences, it's networking, and so it's really having the conversations with the people that they know and feel like would be a good fit here, right? Because
Yeah.
that's part of it. Given our culture, we want to make sure that we have a good fit. So it's really asking our current talent to say, who do you know? Who do
Yeah.
you think would be a good fit? I mean, sometimes you just have to ask, and they're like, oh, yeah, so and so is doing this or doing that, or they're not happy. The other thing, there is a lot of activity in the A&E space with private equity coming in, and so there's lots of acquisitions happening. People try, some giving that a try, some kind of figuring it out that isn't for them. So we track those just to kind of see,
Okay.
hey, what's happening in the talent there. We have started using AI to really optimize job descriptions and searches just to try and kind of increase that efficiency and be a little bit more targeted. So, yeah, we're kinda going the range of, yeah, people, relationships to our tools and technology.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me there. So I like the relationship side. I mean, I'm always curious about how organizations are building a culture of referrals, and I mean, I like the other piece here about tracking acquisitions and being. I'm assuming you're then using that to then, hey, let's target people maybe who are part of that system, right? We can just do direct outreach to them on LinkedIn. That's kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'm taking that for granted. That's kind of a basic, strategy, but
Right,
important, right? But
right.
the fact that you're tracking it's really and then being very intentional probably around that.
Right.
But the referral side of it, who do you know? I'm curious, are you, what you're asking them, do you guys have a playbook around that, or how are you strengthening that or making sure that we're getting the most out of that
Mhm.
effort, right?
Right, yeah, and all of the things that we're talking about, um, I think they're maybe not new, but you do have to be thoughtful to have the conversation to set expectations and making sure all these things are happening, right? So
Yeah.
just like the referrals, it's an ongoing conversation. Whenever we post a position, that's part of the discussion with the hiring manager and their team, with our talent acquisition team to say, okay, great. You know what you're looking for. Who do you know that would be a good fit? And so
Yeah.
it's like we're always prompting the conversation. And then we actually have a referral campaign.
Yeah.
So we set up a campaign, I think it's once or twice a year, and ask people for referrals, and they can get, X amount of
Nice.
dollars if someone comes on board and they stay for so long. And so we're trying to make them understand. I mean, this is key to our success, right? So this is how our employees contribute to our success.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and
then
that's
a
how,
referral campaign, then it creates an internal marketing campaign around that. So there's
right.
kind of regular awareness of like, hey, we're always looking for
Yes,
referrals.
we're always looking for great talent. Who do you know? Um, and that's just one way to highlight it. But for whenever we post for a job, that is always part of the discussion is,
Yeah.
hey, come to the table with people you've thought about. And in particular, mid-level, senior, right?
Yeah.
People in the industry, um, they're looking for a specialty or to lead a certain team. It's a much better match if you kind of
Yeah.
know what you're getting into,
And
right?
and by doing that at the team level, the whatever leadership level, whether that's a higher level leader or a mid level leader, and every time they come to you for a hire, then you say, well, you kind of flip it around on them,
Right.
you say,
Who do you know?
well,
Right.
who do you know, right? You're like,
Right. It's
don't
kind of
come to
like when
me,
somebody,
and ask me to go
right.
find. No, I'm,
Right.
I'm,
When
t- I'm
somebody comes with a problem, it's like,
uh,
okay, well, what do you recommend,
yeah,
first if you're
yeah, yeah.
closest to it?
Yeah, exactly. But I think no, the point I was trying to get at that, and I'm joking and teasing a little bit on that, but is that they do that enough times. Like they probably begin to learn like, oh, okay, if I'm going to bring this rec to HR or recruiting,
Right.
then, I know what they're going to ask me, right? Let me do my
Exactly.
part first, and bring them a few leads or do my own outreach, ahead of time. Cause I know this is going to be like step
Yeah.
one in the
I know they're
process.
gonna ask me. Right. So part of that is just kind of behaviors, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to get those behaviors that match how we move forward.
Yeah. Reinforcing those best
Mhm.
practices.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely crucial. Right. So, and again, I think that fits in an employee owned business. I mean, if you're a small business, where do you get your first hires? You get it from people that almost
Right.
always, right? You don't go post jobs on LinkedIn and, hope for a great
No.
hire. You almost always source from your immediate kind of network of folks, and then you grow from there.
Right. And
So,
that supports our conversation of when we talk about growth. We're not at Barge, we're not growing just for growth's sake. I mean, we're growing because that's what healthy companies do. But because of our employee ownership, because our culture is so important, what we talk about is we're managing how we grow. And part of that is continuing to have alignment on our values and bringing on people or have experience with, is a
yeah,
great way to do that.
yeah. Well, and it's great. I mean, being employee owned the growth ends up trickling down to the individuals, the shareholders, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get that pays out for them, as opposed to being paid out to a small group of principals or
Right.
to a private equity, firm, right? Who's, reaps all the benefits of that. So, yeah, being thoughtful, but also when you have those other structures, sometimes growth is forced, right? And so then it
Right.
becomes, that can break things, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
allow you to grow in it necessarily always the healthiest way.
That's right.
So you get to have those conversations too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that we should have covered? Do you have any, like, this is your favorite thing around, finding or attracting or making sure you got the right person on the bus that we didn't cover? Any last words of wisdom for us?
I would say we talked a lot about the junior team members, and that's so key to what we do. But I had a great experience as I stepped up in this role of kind of a senior element, right? So at Barge, we actually did what we called a next level leadership class, and that was facilitated by our, at that time, CEO, COO, and CSO. And so there was a group of 7 to 8 individuals in it. And that was really the first time I kinda knew what the C-suite did.
Yeah.
They kinda opened up the book and said, "Hey, okay, here's what day to day is like. Here's some of the things that we challenge." And so I don't know that everybody gets that opportunity.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about what's the next step when you
Sort
reach
of
a
an
certain level,
open book leadership
open book
program.
saying because they wanted to expose us to that. They were certainly assessing, okay, who might be a fit as they thought about succession planning. But that's something I don't take for granted, and we're going to continue that because I just think it was so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah, we hear about open book companies, right? Financials, but then kind of maybe open leadership. Like, let me
Mhm.
teach you what my job's all about,
Right,
and
right.
taking the time to explain here are the decisions I'm making, here are the challenges I'm dealing with, or the concerns,
Exactly.
or the risks. I mean, as a leader, you deal with lots of scary things sometimes, right? It's like, oh boy, are we going to have enough money to make payroll next month? Maybe. And, I mean, hopefully not, but these are the things they come up from time to time for different
Right, and
reasons, right?
so it was great as an individual, but also it was in the best interest of the firm, right?
Yeah.
Because that person stepping into that role knew certainly you can't know everything, but for the
Yeah.
most part, what they were getting into. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I will add that because, sometimes time isn't taken there, but it's really needed and it was
Yeah.
really valuable.
Well, if somebody is interested in working at your firm or working with you guys as a vendor, what's the best way to get in touch with you all?
Yeah, check out our website, bargedesign.com, and then you can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for your time. This was a wonderful conversation, and I look forward to sharing this with everybody else soon.
Thank you, Fletcher. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to our People First Builders podcast. If you're a successful construction CEO and would like to tell your story on this program, please visit our podcast homepage, FletcherWimbush.com/peoplefirstbuilders, or check it out in the notes below. If you got something out of this interview and would like to share the episode on socials, we always appreciate that. Just take a quick screenshot with your phone, text it to a friend, or post it to the socials. If you know someone who might be a great guest, tag them on social and let them know. And don't forget, #PeopleFirstBuilders. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We're regularly putting out new content. To make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes, go ahead and hit subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. Your thumbs up and ratings and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, FletcherWimbush.com, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.